Welcome to our daily reflection for this Wednesday, September 11th. And of course, we always think of, as Americans, the solemnity of September 11th for us, remembering the great tragedy of what happened on 9/11. And today the readings reflect a little bit on this. Paul's talking about, he thinks that because the Messiah has come, that there's this age of distress and there's different troubles and problems. And so he gives advice. He says, look, if you're married, stay married. But if you're single, dedicate your virginity and your single state to God and serve him freely. And so he's kind of giving this advice. And if you look at what Paul says about being single and married in the first reading with what Jesus speaks about in the Gospel of Luke today about the Beatitudes, the bigger picture behind it all is that we should live in the world, but not for the world. The world as it is right now is passing. And everything in it is going to change and pass away. And so we need to live in the world and in time with our mind and our eyes set on eternity, which is unchanging and full of hope and peace for us. Because our life is short, but eternity is long. And that gives the Christians what Paul would basically is counseling here. It gives us a sense of Christian relativism. Yes, I use that word. The true relativists are the Christians because they know that the goods of this world are not ultimate, right? You don't have to build up a fortune here to be happy. You could be poor and be happy. And that's what the Beatitudes are. Blessed are the poor. They shall be rich. Blessed are those who weep. They shall be comforted, right? Blessed are those who suffer persecution. They will be comforted. In other words, this life is so short. It's so fleeting. Don't get stuck on the material goods of the world because they are short-lived. It doesn't matter what fortune or how big your 401k is or your retirement. You'll have a very little time to enjoy it, but you will have eternity to enjoy God. So focus on the spiritual things that last, and the physical things are to be relative. But oftentimes people in the world absolutize the relative. They think, oh, it's the goods I have now, that's what really matters, and they ignore eternity and what happens, whether or not they can be with God or not. And they forget about the final judgment, and they forget about the poor and being faithful to God. And all they care about is fulfilling their own desires and pleasures and their own self-security. And that is not the Christian way. And so what Paul is recommending for the Corinthians is also what Jesus is recommending with the Beatitudes. Let's relativize the things of this world. Now, a lot of us at the Augustine Institute just went through a major move to St. Louis. And I was amazed at the things I was attached to. My house, the walking trail, the green belt behind my house, and all these different things. And I had to give up a lot of those things. And I realized, gosh, I get too attached. We get too attached to the things of this world. And what we need to do is get attached to Jesus Christ, to God the Father's love, to being children of God, to loving, and to these eternal goods of faith, hope, and charity, and so many other spiritual goods. That's where we need to put our heart and our mind. And let's absolutize what's really important and relativize what's really temporary and fleeting. That's what the gospel and Paul in the first reading is teaching us today. So let's go through that inventory of what is really absolute and what is really relative in our lives. And let's not confuse the two. May the Lord bless and keep you.
This daily reflection is brought to you thanks to the generous support of the Mission Circle. Join the Mission Circle to help Catholics worldwide understand, live, and share their faith. Sign up at missioncircle.org today.